Welcome, Mishael.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Can you see me?
It's loading.
Hold on.
It's loading back. I can't see you. Okay, I can see
Okay,
now. It's better now. I can see.
good.
How was your week now?
Not bad. We're pushing now.
Yeah. I noticed that Salariopay is doing a lot of events this period.
Yes, we try to get the word out there.
Yeah.
I can see you.
Yeah, it's loading. It's loading. It's loading. Yeah. So today's topic, just give me a minute. Then we can shoot. So I noticed the guys that you bring on board, are they like HR professionals?
Yes.
Oh, awesome.
Mm. Those are
Awesome.
speakers,
Awesome.
right?
Awesome. Yes, the speakers, yes.
Yeah, they're actually HR professionals.
Oh,
Uh, we actually, they actually be paid to function at particular events.
okay.
Mm. They call it a speaker fee or so. They pay them. They get paid speakers fees to attend those events and discuss
Mm,
about topic. So the guys that are
mm,
my hosts, co-hosts, are my own employees.
yeah. Oh, awesome. That was
Mm.
that was. I mean, this is another Sunday. Tomorrow we, get back to the grind again, right? Just to reiterate, Situation Room HQ is an ecosystem for founders to express themselves, to share their biggest pain points, and also share their experience on how they were able to navigate some of these pain points, right? And it's going to be pretty, important, eventually to the startup ecosystem, all right? Because this is where, as a founder, you are free to like express yourself, talk about your concerns, right? Talk about the wins that you have had, talk about the reasons, how you got those wins, and I mean, with me is Harry Michel, who is the CEO of Salariopay, very experienced person when it comes to, being a technical founder, right? He has been in the tech space for close to 8 years now, right? So this is someone that, when it comes to, the startup ecosystem, the startup life, he has lived it, he has experience, right? And then Salariopay is making great impact at the moment, revolutionizing the HR tech space. Beyond that, is also a side of it is also a fintech. Right? So there's a huge, contribution that Salariopay is doing. So I'm going to give you, Michelle, just a couple of minutes to talk about, the importance of Salariopay and then the positioning.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much for having me. Yeah, so Salariopay is a workforce management system that enables businesses to manage their HR processes and also payroll process as well. So typically, when a company um, kicks off, they get to hire employees, and these employee records need to be managed by a particular system. And you get to manage how you get to pay them, how they take leave,
Yes.
how they do other character activities within the organization. So all these
Yes.
activities become more complex as the team grows, and that
Yes.
is what our solution solves, trying to make sure
Yeah.
that we streamline the process from onboarding to
Yes.
offboarding as well, and ensure that employees get paid on time. Things like compliance,
Yes.
tax, pension, we get to remit them to the appropriate authorities on time. So that is what our solution does, and it helps businesses streamline their HR and payroll process.
Okay. Awesome.
Mm.
Awesome. So straight into today's agenda, right? The topic for the today's situation room is regulations will kill you if you ignore them. Startup compliance 101. You know, and this is very important because we have had a lot of startups that think that they can get away with, certain things when it comes to the startup ecosystem, right? And then, they are not compliant, particularly in the fintech space, right? Because you feel like,
Yeah.
oh, you're in Nigeria, you can get away with some things, right? And then you start violating, some of the rules guiding a particular sector, so and if you're not better positioned, there is a way this thing can actually bankrupt you as a startup founder and also as a startup, right? And one of the things I also like to emphasize is the fact that as a startup, we assume that there is no, at the point, at the beginning, we don't need legal counsel that will help us navigate some of these things because you're a startup, right? You're not a
Mm-hmm.
lawyer, you don't have, competence or experience being a lawyer, right? And you are in a space like the fintech space, right, that is heavily regulated. You need, a lawyer to guide you, give you an idea of the policies out there, how to ensure that you are compliant, right? And we'll also go into some of these things, just so that some of the peculiarities of some markets, right? I'd like to cite one particular example, like what happened to Landmark, for instance, right?
Mm-hmm.
I saw the video of the CEO of Landmark, and one of the things I was able to think, in fact, one of the lessons I said he learned is beyond just you being compliant as a business to the rules and regulations, to the policies, all of that, right? You should also have like someone inside the government, right, or inside the regulatory body that regulates your space, so that before some of these policies have been announced, you are already aware of it. You're already compliant, right? Before they come out. He stressed the fact that that they were compliant. It quite like by standard, Landmark was compliant, right? And then how did you now get to the point whereby just days to when they will come and bring the tractors and all of those things to clear Landmark? That's when the notice was sent. In fact, it
Yeah.
stressed the fact that for some of the painting in the rooms, in the I think the chalet and the rooms, hotel rooms and all, they
Mm.
couldn't remove them. That was how bad it was. He stressed the fact that in fact some of the guests were in the rooms while they started demolishing everywhere in Landmark. That's
Yeah.
sometimes you'll be like, how can a business as big as Landmark be in that kind of position, right? So having said that, right, I would like to start off, by asking this question: that what's the best structure for an early stage startup, right? Is it, being a sole proprietorship? Is it a limited company, or something else? And why, are you suggesting, this particular structure?
Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much. So I think when it has to do with compliance is something that you have to gradually do. You cannot be fully compliant. Rather, you can work towards being compliant. So that being said, to answer your first question, I feel that an early stage startup that really wants to start operation need to at least get incorporated. So, and in Nigeria, for instance, there are different types of incorporation. Some people go and get a business name, right? some people go, they get, which is similar to sole proprietorship in a sense, because the liability of the company rests on the sole proprietor in question. But the other ones, like limited liability company, and the other form of a corporation like trustee, and they have other kind of this thing. They have NGO as well, depending on what you want to do. For me, any setup that is not a non-profit, I think what they should go for is a limited liability company, because what a limited liability company does is that it protects you, who is the business owner, and set up that particular entity as its own entity. In a sense, let's say for instance, you take a loan tomorrow. That loan you are taking is on the limited liability company, which is your entity. It cannot have direct impact on your own personal life or personal assets, as the case may be. So whereas if you go and incorporate as a sole proprietor and tomorrow you're involved in businesses, it directly ties back to you. It doesn't protect your assets in your own personal life. And whenever you see some people, they use their personal account to run business. They don't know what they do for themselves. Down the line, maybe if that business grows out to be a very big business, there won't be a track record of them transacting in the business world to have a history. You can't go and pull up your personal account and say, did the bank use it to audit you or whatever. So the minimum you can do, from what I can see, what I would say is for you to be incorporated as an LLC, right? A private entity, and use that to begin. That is the first step in compliance as a business entity. So maybe if you don't want to go that far, but just know that if you go and incorporate as a sort of proprietor, whatever happens to the business in terms of financial impact, bankruptcy filing, would directly affect your assets. If you're exposed or get yourself involved in those things. Right? So it's always good that someone get legal guidance before they get involved in things like this. So that is it.
Awesome. All right. So I'd like us to state some examples, at least in our space in Nigeria. All right. I mentioned Landmark. Right. I know that for a company like Gokada, I believe it was like the announcement of Lagos State government, talking about the grand plan for Lagos, and motorcycle is not a part of that plan and all of that, how that was able to affect their operations, right? And then I think they filed bankruptcy sometime last year, November, right? That's to tell you the seriousness of, that announcement and how it has actually affected them. So my question would be, how best should one structure the business, the startup, in a way that you are protected from that kind of incident? So I would like to mention two things, and I'll just leave it there, then you move on there. Right? Max.ng was in the market way before Gokada or Alright or whatever, right? Before Max.ng, I know I was about this, but last session that was handled by it was a program organized by MIT Legaton in 2017. I think I pitched on that particular day. This was far back as 2017, right? This was in August 2017, right? It happened somewhere in VI or so, right? The guys from Max.ng were there, and I think this particular guy, he passed away to Pass.ng. That's one of the early startups back in Lagos, if you can remember. Pass.ng was on CCO Hub, like CCO Hub, they pushed them, right? And the CEO was someone that we spoke from time to time. We spoke on Skype, right? Because there was something that we needed to do at the time, right? For the fintech we've been at the time. This was in 2017, right? And that's why I had to reach out to Pass.ng CEO. So we spoke in that regard. So that particular event, right, featured Max.ng, and the CEO, the Igbo guy, stressed the fact that they have been running ride hailing for a while, but on the low. In fact, at that time they were trying to raise about $500,000, right? On the low, intentionally, so it was not from a place of say, oh, they didn't have the money to like blow up the operations where they have like a lot of rice, in Lagos and all of that, right? But these guys were like, building gradually, and that tells you how they are still able to become operational in the market till now. Despite the fact that the Lagos government made that announcement. So, what would you say that Max.ng did right that Gokada, we're not seeing? That's the question.
Okay, I think this is a very interesting one, and I think I will start from the landmark event, right? So I remember watching that video, and if there's one thing I got out of that particular video he had with a particular, there is this very popular YouTube guy, but I can't remember his name.
Yeah.
But one thing I got out of that particular interview was that he regretted the fact that he didn't build relationships within the government.
Exactly.
So whatever works in New York, in San Francisco, in cannot work in Nigeria, because Nigeria is a very peculiar environment.
Yeah.
So if you feel that you can just fly into Nigeria, or you're a founder and you go and you start up a business and you scale, remember, the moment you scale beyond a particular capacity, you must you must have ties to the top.
Yes. Because you get attention of the guys at the top.
You must. If I say Aboyeji made it clear that your business must be their business. They must make money from it. If in a way their interest is not protected, right, you can lose. And remember that this interview he gave where he said that when Uber entered Nigeria, for every ride you take on Uber, there is a 50 naira charge on each of those rides. That charge goes to the government. The question is now, why didn't Gokada and the rest of them adopt that business model? Right? Probably they came in and they were running this stuff. They were not sending some portion of their revenue back to the government, which could have been very negligible. It wouldn't even affect their business operation. But because they were not doing it, that is why, in my own opinion, the government had to shut everything down, because there was nobody there speaking on their behalf. Are you with me? Right. So, in the case of Max.ng, I think that the way if you look at Max.ng, the guy knows what he's doing and the way he has been able to structure and transition his business. So, people always have this problem where they are involved in a business and they don't know when that business is winding down. They don't know when they're going to go out of business. They feel that this business will still be around for a very long time. Usually when that business involves some form of regulation, right? Now, Max.ng, last time I checked, they are into mostly sustainability, like they're mostly into renewable source of transport, right? They are not mostly into hardcore transport business anymore. They mostly do these e-bags, EVs, right? So they provide these EVs on ride-hailing platforms, and those ride-hailing platforms pay them for providing those vehicles. It's just the same business model that Move is doing. Move is not a ride-hailing company. They are operating an asset-backed finance model where they get investors to buy vehicles. Those investors buy those vehicles. They lease those vehicles on the Uber platform, and those vehicles now make money for the investors. I think.
I think Iola was one of their investors, and he said, it was a good deal. That before they even made the announcement about the acquisition, right? He had already cashed out his money, and it was a good deal for him.
That guy understands Nigerian markets. That guy has Nigerian people. But he always say that anytime you start hearing about the company, he has already moved on. The moment it becomes mainstream, my brother, as collectors will come. So we need to be careful when we are trying to scale. And that's why I look at the market. I look at what is coming out in the news. Whenever you start, like you're not hearing these days now, you always hear OP, Pampi. Those guys need to be very careful, because they also need to have people at the top end of affairs. If not, these commercial banks can pull strings and shut them down. Because I'm already hearing the talk that these microfinance banks have so much customers beyond the commercial bank customer quota, right? I'm beginning to hear that conversation now. Yes, I'm beginning to hear, because most of them are posting numbers now. They said that most of these guys need to now upgrade to commercial banking license. Yes, that's the license they are using to operate as an MFB is no longer enough.
Yeah. Sorry to cut you short, Michelle. Sorry to cut you short. Right, I've been in Rwanda for over 1 month now. Right, and currently, as Big Cradle, we are consulting for an organization. I'm not going to mention the name. Right, so when I first engaged the founder, is an American, right? He spoke a lot about their products, what they want to do, blah blah blah, and all of that. So but there was a particular product that caught my attention. It's a fintech product. So the last question I had with him, I asked him critically, like directly, that I'm not going to sit here and tell you what you want to hear, right? You have gotten a, data intelligence expert, a consultant, right, to help you position your data infrastructure in a way that you are scalable, you can innovate, you can, grow with needless effort, right? So I'm not going to, in fact, if we leave this meeting and, you are not frowning, because you are emotionally, I can already say that emotionally attached to your product, this particular fintech. So I told him that what you are building, let me explain the fintech to you. Restaurants, cafes, right, lounges, can use that product to receive payment from their customers that are walking into the restaurant or into the cafe, right? So it's like a storefront application. Can you see? Whereby on the restaurant end, they come on the platform, they list the items of what they sell with the prices, right? And then when the customer wants to make payment, they make payment, right, to that application. You understand? So I told him that and I asked him that what's the biggest pain point right now? He said that he needs a particular license from the Central Bank of Rwanda, right? That license is about $100,000. Right, for the license that their major issue the last time they were supposed to raise it, but they lost their last round, right? They felt like his own position was like, the investors they were speaking with, felt like they were asking for too much, blah blah blah, and all of that. I get that struggle. You understand? So, but this is what I'm driving at. When I critically reviewed the application with my team back in Big Cradle, we now realized that this application can easily be an inventory management application. Where you will not need any license from any central bank, and you start operations, you start acquiring your stores, cafes, restaurants, lounges. Immediately, it was almost as if, I took a knife to cut his windpipe. It was so emotional. I was like, no, it's a fintech. I was like, what's a fintech there? Why am I emotionally attached to the fintech bank? This is a storefront application, right? Deploy that, get stores to come on board, right? Then you can take the numbers to your investors and that's the major issue also. It said that the investors are saying that the growth shouldn't be based on the users, that is the people that come and buy from the stores. It should be based on the stores themselves first, because the more stores you acquire, right, means that the more of their customers would use the application, right? So I'm like, this is like, to me it makes no sense, right? If you are saying that your growth or your communication, your next conversation with your investors is heavily dependent on the number of stores on your platform, why are you positioned as a fintech, to the point where you need a Central Bank of Rwanda license before you can operate? I'm like, launch your product as a storefront application, at best an inventory management application. You don't need any fintech license, right? And then you operate, go from there. So that resonated to me when you started talking about, I was like, this is something that's actually happening here. If you don't need to be positioned in a certain way, why are you sabotaging yourself? Please go on. Sorry to cut you short.
Yeah. So, this thing you mentioned now is, people are sometimes in love with their solution and forget about the problem they're coming to solve. Just like when you were introducing me now, you mentioned that there is a fintech angle to it. Yes, to my own solution.
Yes.
But I try not to own up to that. Why? Because the moment you start pushing, you are doing fintech, automatically you need licenses.
Exactly.
Right? But the moment you position that, okay, you a HR set software, the goal is to get employees to come, businesses to onboard their employees. Then within the system, those employees will now scale. Because within our own business model, the way we scale is this. A business, so every time we onboard a business, we grow exponentially on the B2C side of things. Typically, it's this way. Let's say we onboard a company now, they have 100 employees. The moment they join our network, automatically, we have 100 new individuals who are using our mobile app and can transact every day. They have a wallet. They can do everything they can do in the normal bank account. But we don't go and position as a fintech company looking for deposits. You see? So I think people need to always know that if you're trying to solve a storefront problem, position as a software, because if you call yourself a software company, people will not have much thing to by default self, most of these payment gateways won't even want to accept you because they'll ask you for license. Maybe you're a fintech person, they'll ask you for license. Immediately that's the first thing. But if you say that you're a software company, you're an IT service company, they will get you access and you will have access to those things. But you want to say, you're doing fintech, my brother, you will need licenses. That is one thing that some people don't know, that they need to be careful of what they say in terms of whether it's a fintech or it's not a fintech. So that's what I have to say about it.
Also,
is the position that matters. Is the positioning that matters, not really about the idea that would trigger a license. It's about how the person positions that particular business, right? And positioning it properly makes it easy for you to start. Think about it now. It will be very, very crazy for an investor to want to invest in a business and that business require a license to operate. It is a huge barrier to enter. So if that license, for instance, now currently in Nigeria now, we have several licenses, and just to get a license like cross-border license for monetary license for sending money across border, the IMTO license, you need up like if not $2 million to get a license, right? So if I now go and say I want to do cross-border payment, my brother, you won't get operation, you get shut down. Eventually, your account will be frozen. But you can frame. In fact, we have a cross-border product internally for businesses that want to pay their employees outside Nigeria, right?
Oh, okay. Well, I think you mentioned that. Yes.
You see. So now, but if you're looking from the outside, nobody knows about it, right? So it's about the positioning of the idea before you now say, okay, you have the capital to now start reinforcing the message outside that you're doing fintech. When you're doing fintech, my brother, they'll knock on your door and say, bro, you're doing fintech. It's not actually they're doing. I think that is it. So you can see what happened to Zap now. Zap.
Yes, exactly.
You see? What was the problem? The problem is not even too much. The problem is that they were receiving deposits, and that deposit was not being housed in a wallet. It was being housed within their own platform. They had an internal wallet within Paystack. Yes. Of which they are not licensed to hold customer deposits. But there is a way around it. Yes. CBN says if you don't have a license, if you don't have an MFB license, a commercial bank license, a deposit bank license, you cannot hold customer deposits. Right? Now, but you can only hold customer deposit if you have a partner bank that has provisioned a wallet for you. The customer fund will now be in that particular wallet. You see, that is where the wallet providers come in. So, which means that those customer funds are not on your own platform. You know, when you have a wallet within your own platform, right, and people pay into that particular wallet, and you receive funds to that wallet, you can, the actual value of the money can be removed, and those customers will still be seeing their balances, but the actual money is not on the system. But if you're using a web provider, the moment they pay into that particular wallet, that actual fund is in the bank. So which means that if for any reason you remove money from the customer account,
Yes.
the customer will know because the balance will reduce.
Yes.
You don't have control over the balance.
Yes.
The balance is in the bank.
Yes.
And that is what we use to operate. We use wallet providers, and all the money that people pay into our platform to run salaries and they receive their money within our platform, all those deposits are held in our partner bank, not on my own platform.
Okay. Awesome. I like the fact that you mentioned that, right? Because there's a way you would operate, and I like the fact that you use that as an example. There's a way you operate, right, where it is not just you not being compliant. It's like actually you are running an illegal business. Particularly, you find that a lot in the fintech space, right? You could be positioned in a way that like you are literally running an illegal business. So here's the question: what's the difference between being compliant, being non-compliant, and being illegally running an illegal operation?
Okay, so not being compliant is when you don't meet up to the industry requirements, right, for you to be able to operate your business. And this comes from incorporation to licenses required for you to operate. And the moment you don't do that for a period of time, you are quote unquote non-compliant with industry regulations and standards within your space. An illegal business. So if you're non-compliant, it doesn't mean that you're running an illegal business. Remember, the business you're running is a viable business. You're providing value to customers. Customers are seeing that value. For me, an illegal business is a business where you're selling services that is more like, I would call it, a contract, is banned within a particular country, which means that that kind of business is not supposed to operate. But if you're running a legal business and that business is supposed to operate, but you don't have the necessary permits, licenses, documentation to operate that business, in that case, you are not compliant. But there's a caveat here. You can start a business and you are non-compliant. Remember, the purpose of non-compliance is for you to hold your own end of the bargain and meet up some requirements to ensure that the government ejects bad players from the system, right? It has to do with consumer products, like things that have to do with edible products. That way I have NAFDAC. Things that have to do with drugs. That way I also have them here. In the banking space, you have the CBN as a regulator. Because people can easily, bad actors can easily enter into this particular space in order to profit, because it directly impacts humanity. But if you are not non-compliant, it's easy for you to run an illegal operation. For instance, imagine you have a fintech platform now, and you are receiving customer deposits, right? Customer pay in 100 million into the total number of deposits of customers you have is 100 million. But in actual sense, you have used 50 million of that money to buy houses. You have used some money there to chill in Bahamas. From that money, you're spending. But when your customers come to their platform, they are seeing their balances. But in actual sense, that money does not exist.
Oh, okay.
What will now happen is this. Let's say all your customers come for a deposit. They walk up one morning and say, we want to withdraw all our money. And they come to take their money. Now, you don't have the money to pay them to make all of them whole. Because you have bought properties, you have probably gone to Dubai, spend money here and there. That money doesn't exist.
Maybe you don't You don't go several clubs for VI. They compete with
I tell
Pablo.
you. You get so, but in
Yeah.
other sense, the money don't say this. But customer say, but my balance is here, and they see my balance. Papa, the money don't stay, the money has moved on. But now,
Yeah.
it's right from you trying to provide value. But now you're not running an illegal operation because as a financial institution, you must hold a particular amount of deposits in place. So whenever customers come for their funds, you can always make them whole. Right? And that's why CBN regulates banks. So banks are mandated. So bank runs something they call a fractional reserve system, where they are mandated to hold in deposit up to 60% of customer fund. The remaining one, they can diversify it to give that a loan, make investments, right? So that in any case, customers come back for their money. They can always pay customers. Now, if they run into a financial problem, CBN cannot fall back to their deposits within their own listing to make customer whole, which is they have to now declare Chapter 11 and declare bankruptcy. CBN will either merge them with another bank or sell them off to another entity to make those entire customers whole again. So those some of the that's the how someone can move from being compliant to non-compliance and become an illegal entity. Mind you, a company can be fully compliant and still be an illegal, can still be running an illegal operation. Yes.
And that gets me, I mean, the conversation is becoming really interesting, right? Because, I mean, this is Situation Room. We talk about any and everything, right? You know, so is there also a need for the central bank and the regulatory body to also ensure that the tech itself that these startups in the fintech space are deploying, right, has met standard when it comes to security? And I know why I'm talking about this now, because you know, and I think that's the issue that the CBN, right, and the regulatory bodies have with the crypto startups. And I'm going to use Patricia as an example. You can see, you know, you talked about the fact that, oh, as a bank, you are only allowed to use 60%. 60%, must be, untouched. While is the other part that you can now use for loans and everything, run your operation and all of that. Right? Maybe you use that to invest in some, acquire some shares somewhere and all of do those your normal bank operations, right? But when it comes to the crypto space, right? Looking at Patricia, I saw a video about someone that made a video on YouTube talking about how Anu scammed an entire generation. I didn't sit down with me, so maybe I am emotionally, I felt some kind of way because I'm a solo founder, right? And I can ordinarily know exactly how Anu is feeling as regards what happened to Patricia, right? But at the same time, this is like the reality. I'm a user on Patricia. I have my $100,000 worth of crypto on Patricia. You just came up one morning, made an announcement, that you were hacked, blah blah blah, and all of those things. My money is gone. You announced a new coin, a Patricia coin. That all of my money has been converted to Patricia coin, and I'll be receiving it in tranches. Like there's a concern around that, right?
Yeah.
But I want us to strike a balance so that we're not, being insensitive, because we're also startup founders. What was faced with, right, with the security issues, it could happen to anybody, right? So, but here is the question. Should the regulatory bodies also ensure that the tech of the startups in the fintech space and in the crypto space are heavily scrutinized? And there's like a standard that you as the startup founder, you must meet security-wise. So that what happened to Patricia will not happen, to you. Please speak in that line, please, Michelle.
Yeah. So those standards exist, but Nigeria is always going to be Nigeria. Whatever worked in Europe cannot work in Nigeria. Whatever worked in US become valid cannot work in Nigeria. That is the unfortunate truth. those standards exist, those precautions exist. But you know how Nigeria is now. People will always cut corners because money is moving under the table, right? Now, in the case of Patricia, I'm not surprised. The dude just wake up one morning and bought cars for his employees. People didn't ask questions. Where did this money come from, right? The kind of life they're living, right? When you look at those things and someone does come and line up cars and give out those cars to the employees, where did those money come from? Is it from the transaction fee? How much, are they touching customer deposit? How is that structure like? Remember, crypto is a big peculiar, but people in Nigeria don't understand this crypto thing very, very well. Nigerians don't know the difference between a custodial wallet and a non-custodial wallet. They are two different types of wallets. A non-custodial wallet, if you are a crypto entity, it means that particular crypto company does not control your cryptocurrency.
Yes.
But a custodial wallet, if you have a custodial wallet, it means that you are the main person that controls your cryptocurrency. So you see platforms like Binance, Bybit, Patricia. I will categorize them as custodial because they are the ones holding the crypto in place for you. But if it is a non-custodial, it means that you are the one that is responsible for your own cryptocurrency. So I'm heavily into crypto actually. So I have my money in crypto is not in a custodial wallet. In the sense that I hardly leave money on platforms like Binance, Bybit, Patricia. No. For me, those platforms are supposed to be platforms where you move in money there when you want to offload, not when you want to store long term. Right? Because why? These guys, they have a central wallet where all your entire crypto are housed. What they are showing you is only your balance on that particular platform, which means that they can use your money now, just pay it in now, to go and lodge in one hotel in Dubai and be having one party. What you'll be seeing is your balance, but in a real sense, your money is not there. Are you with me? Right? So, that is the way it operates. Likewise, in the bank, every money you pay into a bank goes into the bank vault. But the reason why banks are well behaved is because they are being regulated. So I'm not saying that a custodial wallet is bad. It is only bad if there is no regulation, if there is no check made for the person who has custody of that particular customer fund. So for me, I feel that if someone floats a crypto company, there has to be some form of regulation around the customer fund being held. You can remember last year, there was a bankruptcy filed in the US by FTX. What was happening in FTX? It's so funny that we're talking about these things and we forget that most of these problems hasn't been solved in the US yet. US still have these problems. It's not peculiar to Nigeria. It's not a Nigerian problem. So what happened to FTX is that FTX is a custodial wallet where they hold customer fund on their behalf. And they use this fund to trade on different currencies. And every time they trade and they lose money, customer money has gone. So they kept on losing fund because there was no fractional reserve in place provided by a regulatory body. It could be the Central Bank of America, it could be the SEC in America, to say you must not trade with anything less than 70% of customer fund within your vault, right? With this now, it makes it very, very easy for these guys to spend beyond the normal amount they were supposed to spend, and it got them into bankruptcy because at some point people found out that most of the money that they had on their platform were no longer there, and there was a bank run. That was what happened to them.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Oh, Michelle is out. Hopefully, we'll join shortly. Michelle, are you there? Michelle, are you back?
Yeah, I'm back.
Yeah.
Let's quickly round up. It's almost 6.
Yes. Yes. We have just like about 8 minutes remaining. So I mean, we have spoken a lot, really important stuffs, which I didn't even think that we're going to get to, in all honesty, and then talking about really important issues, right, that can be faced with startups, right, in Africa, So, I mean, thanks a lot for joining this session, right? I mean, it gets better and better, every time. I think this is our 4th session, right? This is like the 4th week, right? And I can say that it gets better every time we do this, right? So, and like I said from the very beginning, it's a safe space for founders, or for soon to be founders, so that you can learn about a lot of things from actual founders and not all those posts on LinkedIn. So LinkedIn, say everybody in a top official for LinkedIn.
Everybody's doing
well on LinkedIn.
Everybody's doing well on LinkedIn now.
Yeah, so
everybody's doing well.
Yeah, So, but this is a space where we can, talk about the real issues, right? The most felt pain points, right, and how we're able to navigate it. So again, thanks so much, Michelle, for taking our time to join the session. Right, the recording of this, I felt like we're able to touch really important things that are facing a vast majority of startups, right? So the recording of this will be posted on YouTube. I know the team would post it on YouTube, right? So that beyond just people joining this live, people that were unable to join maybe because they are hooked up somewhere else can also get the chance to join the live. So we're gonna have it on YouTube. And I think the next session will go live on both Instagram and on X, and so that we can also cater to the audience on X and also build out something on X also. Do you have any final words before we come out?
Yeah. So my final words is just for founders to build relationships and understand the environment they play in, and try to approach regulation if it applies to their business from a particular point that will enable them to start operation first while they work towards being compliant, because it costs money. I won't say become compliant from day one, but whenever you start, just have the mindset that compliance is a continuous thing. It's not a one-day thing, right? Those basic things need to be done in terms of incorporations. You need to have plan about it. You need to be able to do it. You need to have a bank account that you can use to transact. So if you have investors tomorrow, you can always say, okay, this is your financial statement. This is how you have, because that is the only result booklet you have to show them. You can't go and bring your personal account and come and be showing that they will be seeing you bought potato here, you bought rice, all those things that are too much noise.
For
Your
cheap
account is
love.
supposed to be only for your business things. Any money you want to spend that is not a business thing, don't spend it from your business account. If you have intention to raise money in the future, but if you don't have it, you just want to run a small business, you can do anything you want to do. But if you have the intention that tomorrow this business will grow to a point where you would need other people to come in and invest and grow the business to scale it, and you need to be careful with what you do. That is it.
Good one. Thanks so much, Mishael, for your time. We'll pick it up from there in the next session, which is next week, Sunday.
Yeah.
Enjoy the rest of your day.
You too. Remember this.